our economy to take off.
Also, concerns emerge over the impact of illegal mining in the Ashanti region as kidney diseases are on the rise.
Also coming up, special prosecutor serves notice of seeking extradition of former finance minister Ken Ofori-Atta should he fail to show up on 2nd June. It's a brand new week of News Central Live here on TV3. I'm Kameni Amano.
And I am Mawena Egbeta. The bulletin starts right now. I was starting off on the tango between the special prosecutor and then former finance minister, because the special prosecutor, Kisie Jabe, he served notice to use all legal means, including extradition, to haul the former minister to Ghana to answer questions over ongoing corruption cases against him. The latest from the special prosecutor follows a suit by Mr. Ofori-Atta challenging his naming as a fugitive of justice and a wanted person by the OSP. Even before the details of the suit can be properly digested, the special prosecutor has responded, reminding the former minister of a mandatory appearance he must enter by the 2nd of June this year. Let's run you through the details of the OSP's response to the former finance minister, details of which are going to be on your screens right now as we run you through them. And the special prosecutor says that he acknowledges that lawsuit has been filed by Kenneth Nanaya Ofori-Atta's former finance minister, in which he's challenging the decision to have him on a wanted list and declare him a fugitive of justice. But then the OSP proceeds to make it clear that mandatorily the former finance minister is expected to make an in-person appearance by the 2nd of June 2025. A failure of which to attend that set meeting, he shall be re-entered on the OSP's list as a finance minister, will be re-entered on the OSP's list of wanted persons, and then the OSP shall consider him again as a fugitive from justice. It goes on to provide a bit more with respect to what he will do to have the former finance minister return to the country. He says he will cause the issuance of an Interpol red notice in his regard and cause the initiation of extradition proceedings in any jurisdiction in which he may be found. Now, he ends by saying that he remains unwavering in his commitment to ensure Mr. Ofori-Atta answers for his role as a prime suspect in 5 ongoing corruption and corruption-related investigations. So that's the latest with regards to OSP's response to that suit by the former finance minister, Ken Ofori-Atta. Let's get onto the phone lines right now. Emmanuel Wilson Jr. is convener of the Crusaders Against Corruption. Let's pick his thoughts on what it is that we're seeing from the office of the special prosecutor. I appreciate that you could speak to us, Mr. Wilson. First up, what do you make of this back and forth between the OSP and the special prosecutor?
Well, first off, let me say that this issue going on between or from the office of the special prosecutor has consistently been described by Crusaders Against Corruption as unfortunate and disheartening. You cannot fight corruption in the courts of public opinion. You only fight corruption effectively in the courts of competent jurisdiction. Unfortunately, if you look critically at the history of the special prosecutor, particularly under Kisie Jabe, it seems and suggests strongly that Kisie Jabe is very, very comfortable thinking that we can win the fight against corruption in the court of public opinion instead of putting the necessary documents together, necessary evidence together to submit same at the court of competent jurisdiction for us to have tangible results. Now, if you again follow Kissie Jaben's activity, he does all these things, creating a notoriety in deliberate procedural lapses. And what he does is that he creates, instead of us concentrating on the substantive, he finds a way of leading all of us to move out of the substantive to procedural issues. And then at the end of it, almost all cases he has attempted fighting, we end up losing the case or making the case a foolish case just because he failed to put the right procedures in place. Today, as we speak, we are looking at whether or not he declaring someone a fugitive is legal or it is not legal. We are no longer looking at the substantive issue as to what the former finance minister is purported to have done. And that is not the issue, and that is exactly what his posture has always been.
But is it the fault of the OSP that he proceeds to go on a tangent which he's gone on always in declaring persons wanted and proceeding to add that they are a fugitive of justice, wanting them to cause an appearance and answer questions? That's him doing his job. As to whether or not there's a conversation about whether or not it is legal, it's not the doing of the OSP, you'd agree. He's just going about his duty, ensuring that persons he wants to cause an appearance do so he can proceed with his work.
If you look legally, and you are talking, first of all, let me even ask, and that's a question most of us need to have our mind to. Is Kissie Jaben in almost all the correspondences that we have seen between him and the former finance minister, has there been any indication of him declaring the man as a man being under arrest, or he has been inviting him to come and assist in investigation? There are two different things.
Right.
If you are inviting someone to come and assist in investigation, the person has not been arrested, and so you cannot even declare the person a fugitive. Secondly, even if the person has been, you declare the person wanted, in other words, you are saying that you've arrested the person, you need to seek clearance, or you need to rely on the court to declare someone wanted or a fugitive. I have heard so many persons making argument that what he did was founded in law. But I have personally taken time to go through the relevant act, and I'm starting to know exactly which law gives him the powers without recourse to the court to declare someone a fugitive. Whether or not the person is even being under arrest or the person is being invited for investigation, we don't even, it is not so clear. But whichever way it is, he doesn't have the right. If you make reference to Act 30, that is the Criminal and Other Offences Procedure Act. If you look at the OSP Act itself, 2017. If you look at the Extradition Act 1960, that is the Act 22. If you look at the Criminal Code 1960 of Ghana, you look at all these relevant acts, and it becomes difficult for you to pinpoint and see that for someone to be declared a fugitive without recourse to the court or seeking first mandates and powers from the court, the person is acting in any legal jurisdiction. And that is exactly what the special prosecutor has been doing.
What would you want the OSP to do going forward? Possibly file whatever charges he has against the former finance minister in court and prosecutes the matter, rather than what you say is dabbling in legal language and procedure?
What he needs to do is to stop procedural or theatric stages and plays that he's been doing in the public space. He should put all the necessary documents together. If you want someone declared a fugitive, illegally you should know how to go about it. First, cause the person's arrest. If the person fails, then you can go to court and declare the person a fugitive. Then the right procedure will be done. But if you decide that you will fail in this just basic procedural lapses, what you are doing is that you are causing us to lose focus from the substantive, and that is what hurts us, because as we speak today, it looks like no one is even interested in the purported offences that has been committed by the former finance minister. We are all discussing whether or not the person is a fugitive or the person is not a fugitive, and it is just the doing. And I want to be sure or confident to say that it's a deliberate doing of the special prosecutor, just for us to lose focus of the substantive. And at the end of the day, we end up losing the case, and it becomes one of the old cases that he has lost for us all as a country to consistently forget about the fight against corruption.
Mr. Wilson, I appreciate that you could speak to us. That's Emmanuel Wilson, is the convener of the Crusaders Against Corruption, speaking to us this afternoon. Says that the OSP must go through the right process to get the wanted notice served on the former finance minister. We can bring you some more stories right now.
Indeed, away from the OSP, Presidential Advisor on the 24-hour economy, Guzi Tano, says Parliament would have to amend some of Ghana's current laws to enable the 24-hour economy takeoff. In a detailed presentation to Parliament on John Mahama's flagship economic program, he argued the program presents government the opportunity to change the economy once and for all.
Using solar as a first anchor. Also, there has been some mention in the NDC manifesto of time of use tariff. We're looking at the possible protocols of how this will be implemented, and hopefully we will engage the Ministry of Energy on this matter. We're also looking at some of the LIs, particularly the LI relating to electricity supply and distribution, standards of performance, LI 1935, to see how we can cap and reduce the maximum outages that are allowed. You cannot build an industrial economy and allow in your regulations maximum outages of 12 hours. You are basically killing your industry. And so we need to look at that. And then also, and this is coming from exporters and manufacturers as well, we need to build more efficiency at our ports. And we need to basically begin to promote single window clearance systems for imports and exports, particularly in the strategic value chain. So we reduce the costs of forwarding and all the ancillary activities. You cannot be efficient. If you want to do a 100% check for every container that comes into town, you are not going to be able to do it. We have to build the algorithms, the programs that allow us to do random checking, allows for quick passage out of the port so that manufacturers can access their raw materials and so on and so forth. And this can be done. It's been done in Singapore. Why can we not do it? It's been done in Malaysia. Why can we not do it? It's been done in Dubai. Why can we not do it? But it requires careful planning, technology input, and not every 5 minutes we're changing the system that basically is used to monitor imports and exports with the change in every government. Let's upgrade, let's build on what we have, and let's make it more efficient.
Well, outside of the legislative amendments, Guzi Tano has also been talking about the framework for transforming the economy under the 24-hour economy program. And, you know, these pillars are built around a number of issues. I want to show you that real quick. First will be readily available and accessible financing, particularly for small and medium enterprises. And then you also know already that the 24-hour economy will be big on agricultural production, and so there'll be something there for expanded and efficient agricultural production. There will also be manufacturing, because the plan is to move from farm to table, as they have christened it. And so there'll be manufacturing expansion as well for the industry. There will also be a concentration on culture, arts, and tourism to organize and elevate the creative community, to create more employment in that area, but also more importantly, create a cultural identity for the Ghanaian people. There's also something called the Aspire 24 program, which would include a productive or improve a productive workforce aligned to industry needs. Remember, it's one of the things that the NDC has spoken about in this manifesto, ensuring that what we teach in our schools are the skills needed by industry. And Aspire 24 program will be doing just that. Last but one thing on the framework for the 24-hour economy is supply chain and markets efficiency program. And after we've done all that, we need to ensure that the value chain ends with the consumer getting the product that has been manufactured throughout all of these, or the service that has been created throughout all of these. So we have the need to improve domestic supply, export competitiveness, and reduce inflation. Essentially, we expect that once we are able to improve our domestic supply, increase markets for these suppliers as well, will become competitive on the export market, and in effect bring in forex that will reduce our inflation as well. But what's the point if you have all of these and you can't communicate it to the people or bring the people along? There comes Go Ghana 24 program, which will mainstream the 24-hour program and mobilize Ghanaians through a coordinated communication strategy. But a major criticism leveled against the government was failure to directly mention and make an allocation for the program in the 2024 budget. Guzi Tano, the head of the program, has been explaining why that is the case.
Allocation. The initial administrative budget of the Secretariat is going to be, or is in the budget that was announced on the 11th. The main program items, as I mentioned to you, are private sector driven. So the $700 million or so that we have by way of in-principle commitment and indicative support will be directly going to the private sector to finance the value chains that I've mentioned. But one of the components of the value chain development are eco parks that will be basically tracking the enclave idea. And those will require infrastructure, irrigation equipment, minor roads, and so on. If you look at the $10 billion push, the 24-hour economy will apply for some of those funds to support the eco park development. Beyond that, the funds that we are raising for the SME financing are for 15 to 30 years. So they also allow for infrastructure development within that framework. And we're working with GIF to see how we can then mobilize GIF's capacities to be able to fund, including private sector development of infrastructure in the enclaves, as well as public contribution, so that we have a mix that allows us to basically roll out the enclaves in their full dimension and capacity. So and then of course, prior to the budget, we notified that because we're preparing the program will not be ready for the budget. We may have some minimal demand.
Well, Guzi Tano is presidential advisor on the 24-hour economy. After that delivery, some MPs reacted to his presentation.
Please, an old lady in my rural constituency, how will that old lady benefit from the 24-hour economy? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. You can take yours last and then.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I want to also thank Mr. Guzi Tano for his presentation. Mr. Chairman, I know 24-hour economy is a groundbreaking policy which will help this economy so much. However, the presenter made mention of a single window, which will be a tool for the purposes of exporting the products that we will have here to the overseas market. We have a teething problem at the ports, especially the single window, which is currently being operated by ARCOMS as a freight forwarder. That is one of the major problems when it comes to delays at the ports, which I think will hinder the progress, the activity of the 24-hour economy, because I know it is hinging on export. What are we going to do, or what will we do to be able to change the dynamics now at the port so that we are able to expedite action when it comes to 24-hour economy activities? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
MPs on the floor of Parliament. Meanwhile, presidential advisor on the 24-hour economy, Guzi Tano, says no constituency will be left out of the program.
in relation to rural constituencies, actually, a lot of the expanded output and production in maize, soya bean, millet, cassava, groundnuts will come from rural constituencies. And indeed, some of the enclaves and the agro-eco parks, as well as the clusters in terms of direct participation by farmers linked to farmer service centers, will also be in rural areas. So nobody is going to be left out in this program. The only thing is that because the resources are limited, we can't do everywhere at once. So what we've tried to do is look at those areas where we believe will be the growth poles that will also pull up neighboring districts and neighboring constituencies so that they can also rise gradually as these core growth poles also grow and expand and improve. So I assure you that we are all involved in this matter, whether you are red or you are green or you're blue. We are in.
We'll stay in Parliament, this time go live there, where we understand the newly constituted board of the Parliamentary Service will be sworn in to take office today. Christian Yale is our man there. Christian, if you can hear me, good morning to you, good afternoon to you, excuse me. Talk to us about whether or not this event has taken place yet.
Okay, so Kamini, what I know is that very soon, in some few minutes from now, the Speaker of Parliament, together with other Parliament leaders, would inaugurate this board, which comprises of 6 members. Now, these members include the Speaker himself being the chairman, and then we have 4 other members that the Speaker would appoint in consultation with a committee of Parliament, and then we have the clerk to Parliament. And you know that the clerk to Parliament is the one who is the head of the parliamentary service itself. Kemini.
I see. Talk to us about the responsibility of this board.
All right, so what we know is that according to the Constitution and even Parliament own rules, we know that the Parliamentary Service Board is in charge of promoting the welfare of members of Parliament as well as other staff of the Parliamentary Service. Again, what this board seeks to do is to have a general control of the management of the Parliamentary Service, which, when you talk about, basically we are looking at matters of policy. So welfare, promotion of welfare of members of Parliament and other staff of the service, and also issues of policy as well. So this board oversees all of that. And so that we have the Speaker who has the ultimate responsibility of the service and this board, for which reason we know that he is the chairman of the same board. And then with the approval of Parliament, the board goes ahead to formulate regulations that prescribe the terms and conditions of members of the staff of the service in consultation with Parliament as a whole, to ensure that there is that effective and efficient administration of the parliamentary service that would ensure the smooth running of everything that concerns Parliament. Kamini.
I see, Chris. Now, walk us through the tenure of their office.
Basically, when you look at the law stipulates that a member of the Parliamentary Service Board shall serve for 4 years based on the terms and conditions that will be prescribed by the Speaker of Parliament in consultation with a committee of Parliament. Now, when you look at the law, it goes ahead to make the case that a member of the board may resign based on a writing officially to the Speaker of Parliament, or a member may be removed from the board based on a stated act of misconduct or misbehavior which shall come before the Speaker. But what we know is that when a member of the board is out of the jurisdiction, or such a member is incapacitated due to illness or any other cause that prevents the member from performing his or her duties, the Speaker again has that right to appoint another person to act in the position of that member who is not available for such duty. And so basically the mandate says that they have 4 years, and even when Parliament is dissolved, the members continue to hold themselves as members until the first sitting of the next parliament. Then their membership shall be revoked for a new membership of the Parliamentary Service Board to be constituted. Coming in.
Indeed, Christian, we'll leave it here. Thank you so much for talking to us. Christian Yale is in Parliament for us.
Returning to the capital, where the Education Minister, the Honourable Haruna Idrisu, has been visiting Labone Senior High School following that fire incident at their dormitory yesterday. The Minister has been speaking upon his visit. Let's take a listen to him.
There are one or two uncompleted projects there, some dating back to 2012, 2014. That's regrettable. That should not be the case. We'll do our best to get those uncompleted projects going. But our immediate consideration would be to fix and get temporary accommodation for the girls whilst we fix the dormitory for them. We are intending to apply our emergency allocations of our budget to fix that. I can't put a number to it, but be assured that Labone Secondary School and Northern School of Business, Nobisco in Tamale, I visited both schools, and a school in Akwakere in the Ashanti region, which was also hit by a rainstorm, will benefit from our emergency intervention. What this wakes me up to is that government must have a dedicated emergency fund under the Ghana Education Service budget to be able to respond timeously to some of these unpredictable natural and human occurrences.
And that's the Education Minister, the Honourable Haruna Idrisu, speaking when he visited the Labone Senior High School. But we're going to stay in the capital, Accra, because we know that the new Inspector General of Police, Christian Tete-Yohonu, has officially taken office this morning as Ghana's Inspector General of Police. He was sworn into office last Friday to replace Dr. George Ekufu-Dampare.
General, salute! Us! Good morning, sir. Barras Guard Parade formed up, made up of 9 men, all drawn from the Ghana National Police Headquarters, ready for inspection. Number 55132, General Lance Corporal William Ano Ochre reporting. May I have permission to follow, sir? Yes, sir.
And you're loving it, aren't you? As the new IGP, Christian Tete-Yohonu, inspects a guard as he takes over on his first day as the country's Inspector General of Police. Professor Justice Tankebe is a criminologist with the Cambridge University in the UK. Is joining us right now. What really can we look forward to with regards to this new IGP? Let's try and get a bit more from him. Prof, what do you believe are the key issues that the new IGP should be focusing on in the early stages of his tenure?
Well, thank you very much for having me. I think there are a couple of issues that should be of interest. First of all, we've seen that there appears to be improvement in public confidence in the police Certainly, if you look at the data on the proportion of people who say they trust the police a lot, between the last two waves of the Afrobarometer data, we've seen an increase from 7% to 11%. So this needs to be sustained. There needs to be some additional deliberative actions to ensure that this confidence is one that is sustained, even improved. So that's one area. Another, of course, that he needs to focus on a new approach to public order policing. I'm talking about protests. That protests are citizens' rights, and the role of the police should be to facilitate the enjoyment of those rights, not to obstruct them. And I think this is one area that he needs to work on. So it can't be business as usual in running to the courts to prevent people from exercising their rights.
Right,
they need to, yeah, sorry.
Kindly wrap up on that particular point, please.
Okay, so another point I wanted to make has to do with accountability. I think the internal accountability measures need to be strengthened, and there also needs to be efforts at encouraging, and I think this is one thing that police chiefs in Ghana are not doing. They need to be proactive in encouraging the political class, as it were, to institute measures that would hold the police to account. We can't just rely on internal procedures alone, important as they are. There's also a need for external oversight, and the police should be champions of that external oversight. So those are some of the points that I will make for now.
Right. Just briefly on that point you make about keeping tabs on the police and their excesses, if we can call it that. We know there's been conversations in and around that. We know the Interior Minister has promised something in that regard. But in and by himself, what other things can we be seeing him to do which will engineer some level of confidence that the police will not shield their own if they are found to have engaged in one ill or the other?
Well, we are rightfully quite doubtful or dubious about internal mechanisms. And so one thing that he can do to instill confidence in those mechanisms is transparency. So we need to know how many complaints are filed against officers. We need to know the outcome of the complaints. That can be one way to reassure the public that these internal mechanisms are not just cover-ups and so forth. So that's one area that he could do as we wait for external mechanisms. So that's one thing we can say. And of course, when police, we've seen in the last, several years that extrajudicial killings has been a major issue in Ghana. And it's often the case that the police simply issue a statement telling us they had a shootout and X number of people were killed. And that, to the point, seems to be accountability. That's not accountability.
Right.
There's the need to be transparent about some of those processes as well.
And leaning in on that transparency, the aspect in relation to police communication being centralized, there's a demand of some sort that be decentralized. You think that will also aid in the transparency you speak to?
I think centralizing police communication is really quite a bizarre policy position. The whole point of a democracy is that as citizens, we have the right to ask questions of people who have power, and they have an obligation to answer those questions in a, of course, civil manner. And decentralizing the communication, allowing officers to be questioned about things happening within their jurisdictions.
Right.
It's an important element of democratic policing. So absolutely, it shouldn't be centralized, and it shouldn't just be the case that officers simply issue press statements.
Prof, thank you very much for speaking to us. That's Professor Justice Tenkebe, is a criminologist with the University of Cambridge in the UK, taking us on to our very first break here on News Central. When we return, we're live in the Ashanti region of the Ashanti regional capital, Kumasi, where power outages has forced the energy minister there to inspect a number of power plants. We're live there for details and hear from the residents. Please stay with us.
Why are more and more professionals choosing Flamingo paint?
Flamingo paint has great hiding ability.
Welcome back. It's still News Central live here on TV3. We'll now take you across the regions. Now, first regional story coming your way. Activities of illegal miners continue to wreak havoc on the environment and inhabitants despite government's efforts in dealing with the menace. In the Obuasi municipality, deposits of poisonous chemicals in water bodies is said to be contributing to high prevalence rate of kidney diseases. Reports indicate 2 out of 10 cases reported that the AGA hospital have chronic diseases. On the back of this, let's go quickly onto Zoom and engage William Evans Inkum, Ashanti region correspondent. Oh, William, good afternoon to you. What else can you tell us about this issue?
Well, so Kamini, what makes even this more worrying is the figures. So last year, for instance, out of 1,700 cases of health-related issues reported at the OPD of the AGA hospital, 350 cases were chronic kidney diseases. And to Dr. Sulemana Suebila, this is very, very worrying, which needs some level of drastic measures, because cases are surging, and that is very worrying to him.
I see. And William, we also know that the good doctor has been making comments on the unavailability of real-time data for the Ashanti region. Talk to us about that.
Well, so if you go to specific government hospitals, they have data, but a collated data giving a vivid picture as to the number of cases recorded in the Ashanti region since 2023 October, according to him, hasn't been readily available. And this is how he put it.
The prevalence of kidney diseases in Ghana overall is about 13.3%. We don't have specific data for Ashanti region as of October 2023. However, if we juxtapose the 13.3% prevalence rate of kidney diseases in Ghana to Ashanti region, where we have a population of about 5.44 million people, it means that in the prevalence of kidney disease in the Ashanti region should be over 700,000 patients. And that is quite alarming. About the causes of chronic kidney disease, without talking about pollutants and illegal mining, or what is commonly called galamsey, ends up polluting our water bodies. These people end up putting heavy metals into our water bodies, and when we consume them, these heavy metals tend to deposit on our kidney and prevent the kidneys from functioning the way they should function. And over time, most of the people will come with chronic kidney disease. So it's actually a big problem, and I hope the government will take this initiative to ensure that illegal mining is brought to a halt.
Well, very well, William. We'll leave it here. Thank you so much for talking to us. William Evans Inkum is Ashanti region correspondent.
Let's still stay in the Ashanti region, and the recent unannounced power outages in parts of Kumasi has triggered a call by residents to demand for a load-shedding timetable. The unstable power situation, according to the Electricity Company of Ghana, is as a result of technical challenges at the Anyomaso bulk supply point. But residents complain the current situation is disrupting business activities, thus want an immediate intervention. Ibrahim Abubakar is joining us with a bit more details from Kumasi. And Ibrahim, talk to us about the frequent nature of these power outages for starters.
Very, very frequent, especially for the past few weeks. And in fact, if you look at last week up to yesterday, for some parts of Kumasi, you actually get stable electricity or stable power for even more than an hour. Sometimes 30 minutes it comes, it goes off. And this is seriously affecting business operation, especially for those who use electricity to conduct their business. In fact, there have been complaints about destruction of power appliances due to this situation, and it's a cause for concern for many residents here. And they are just hoping that at least if a timetable could be provided for them they will be able to effectively plan their activities for the day and ensure that they do things smoothly. Let's listen to what some of the residents have been telling me that.
Say your mama jina phone. Say yes, we son a play. Now we are doing a play. We son a play. Now we are doing a play. Just say your phone cry and you be crying at you. They say I mean nominate crying in our say. Men nominate crying in our say. Yes, some light no sa I say ya. Oh my own say. Yeah, now watching me no. I have one better soon now watching me no. Na ya be an insi fridge. Say muso na mudum na. Am I a fault baby? Say I'm afraid back one say.
Say Osha can baby am here juma was a good lane. I will do. The beer can on off. The machine here juma. A boy it's me do neja and num see so a jar and num I didn't move on. Automatically it's me say anyoma. Of late I say machine is there, me no answer.
So I thought it be na ba light no ha. Yes no, ma mo hwa nyama ye. No mo nja dumuso no.
Those are some residents speaking to the fact that the continuous power outages is destroying appliances and some others. Unfortunately, we've lost Ibrahim on the telephone lines where we understand that the Minister for Energy and Green Transition is scheduled to visit some key power infrastructure projects in Kumasi in relation to the current power situation. Ibrahim, talk to us about the expected visit as well. Ibrahim is back on the phone lines with us, of the energy minister to the sites in trying to deal with the issue in the region.
Exactly. So currently there are some ongoing works at some of the power stations to make sure that they rectify this problem. So the minister is coming here to assess the ongoing works and also discuss some key developments in the sector. Of course, because of the recent concerns, he also has to be here to at least assure the people of Ashanti region of government resolve to make sure that they fix the situation. So you will be visiting some power enclaves and also other critical installation facilities at Awoma, within the Ofori-Atta enclave. But before then, he also be interacting with some stakeholders in the power sector and also the Ashanti regional minister. So together they will be able to find a lasting solution to these power outages.
Ibrahim, thank you very much for those details. That's my colleague Ibrahim Abubakar in the Ashanti region. From electricity to another crucial utility, water. Now, perennial water crisis in the greater Tamale metropolis is compelling residents to buy and drink from unwholesome sources, which predispose them to diseases like typhoid and other waterborne illnesses. A visit to some communities in the metropolis revealed residents in queues struggling to get water for their domestic use. The estimated average water consumption of Tamale stands at 140,000 cubic meters a day. However, the Ghana Water Distribution Company only supplies 30,000 cubic meters, which is woefully inadequate to meet the demand of residents. Christopher Amwako is our correspondent following this development, joins us for a bit more on this story. Christopher, let's talk about the shortage that we can see from the numbers, 140,000 needed per day, but the metropolis only gets 30,000 cubic meters per day. Obviously, there is a severe shortage there, but talk to us about how residents cope.
Not easy for residents here in the greater Tamale metropolis, and not just the metropolis, but also the Sanargu municipality and other adjoining communities. It's been severe, and it's an annual challenge that the people face. Now, right now, what is happening is that for the past a month, some areas did not even see water flow through their taps, and so it is putting pressure on them to buy from sachet water producers to use them to bath. Others also rely on dugouts within the Tamale metropolis to be able to satisfy their water needs. And so the residents have been complaining. Ghana Water Company Limited, which is the biggest distributor when it comes to water, has also been giving some explanations that their pumps at the intake point, 2 of them have developed some faults, and so it's very difficult for them to be able to pump water to reach the various suburbs in the greater Tamale metropolis. And so people have to actually bear the brunt, and which is not very easy for them, Kemi.
I see. And these unwholesome sources you talk about, are we seeing a correlation between that and some waterborne diseases in the Tamale metropolis and Sagnerugu as well?
Yes, Kevin, exactly so, because when you visit most of the health facilities in the greater Tamale metropolis, especially the Tamale Teaching Hospital, one disease that a lot of people report at the facility with has to do with typhoid. And so the residents are blaming it on the unwholesome water that they take. Now, you go to some parts, there are no boreholes because of the low water table. They don't also have water flowing through their taps, and all they have to rely on has to do with the dugouts in the communities. Now, you even visit them, and the dugouts are almost dried up. The color of the water is very, very terrible, Emily, and so it is posing some health challenges to the people, and the people have been complaining about this.
I see. Christopher, how long has this problem persisted?
Yeah, so Kemini, it's an annual thing. Every year the people have to face this challenge, especially when it comes to this particular period between February, March, April, May. It is only in June that we start to see some rainfall in the area, and so people are able to tap from the rainwater. But between now and May, and then the people already know that they will have to brace themselves for this particular incident. What they are praying for is that this government, the NDC government, should be able to begin the Tamale water project, which will cost about 39-40 million US dollars. And once that is done, the growing population and the water scarcity will be dealt with because of the new water project.
Indeed, Christopher, we'll leave it here. Thank you so much for talking to us. Christopher Amwako joined us from Tamale, where there is severe water shortage, and then Regional Hub today.
Now, the March 17 deadline for returning diplomatic service passports is due today. As it stands, 404 diplomatic passports and 387 service passports are expected to be returned.
Holders of diplomatic and service passports in Ghana have until the end of today, March 17, 2025, to submit their passports. This directive stems from an order by the Office of the President to review and retrieve all such passports which are no longer valid under the current government's requirements. So far, 404 diplomatic passports and 387 service passports remain unreturned despite early notices. The Foreign Affairs Ministry is calling on individuals, including former ministers and their spouses, former members of parliament from all political parties, former Council of State members and their spouses, retired justices of the Supreme Court and lower courts, former regional ministers, MMDCs, and board chairs and members of the state institutions, officials of the National Cathedral Project, former political ambassadors and dependents, businessmen and entrepreneurs, former government functionaries, and any person holding an official passport but not currently serving the state. The ministry has warned that any passports not returned by the deadline that's today will be cancelled and added to the stopwatch list, making them subject to immediate seizure at any entry and exit point in Ghana.
From quirky footwear to high-tech gadgets and trendy drinkware, it seems what goes viral becomes a must-have. Are these products, though, truly revolutionary, or are we caught up in clever marketing and social media hype? Aisha Yakubu Khalid finds out.
It starts with a trickle post here, a review there,
and soon it becomes a tidal wave, or better still, a tsunami. Before you know it, a product becomes a cultural icon. Take the popular Crocs, the iWatch, and now the viral Stanley Cup. Once ridiculed as the ultimate dad shoe, these colorful rubber clogs became a viral sensation during the COVID-19 pandemic. Then came the smartwatch. With its sleek design and health monitoring features, the watch didn't just become a tech gadget, it turned into a lifestyle statement. And now, the latest craze taking social media by storm, the Stanley Cup. Make no mistake, it's not a golf trophy. It is a tumbler used for consuming liquids and beverages. The Stanley Quencher tumbler, with its massive size, handle, and ability to keep drinks cold for hours, has become the must-have accessory. For most of these products or services, their aesthetic appeal and functionality make them desirable.
It's more or less like a status symbol. If you own a smartwatch or a Stanley Cup in this present day, people look at you like, you know, the ish, or you are at the top or something like that.
Yeah, I'm a smartwatch fan myself. I like the notifications aspect, like the part that gets you to see notifications on your wrist without checking your phone. So that helps me stay alert at work.
Let's be honest, the Stanley Cup is aesthetically pleasing. It's a very pretty cup. And it's a big cup as well. So because of the beauty of the Stanley Cup, we will always encourage me to drink more water.
The world is a global village now. We are into digitalization. So the smartwatch will help me with my activities, exercising and all that.
This is the incredible moment. A Stanley Cup seems to have not only survived a car fire, but also still had ice left inside.
It is every manufacturer's dream to have a product that makes it to the trendy status. But first, they have to sell more than a product. They have to sell a lifestyle.
If you have a brand that aesthetically, when people see it, it's beautiful, it's nice, it evokes positive emotion, joy, excitement, calmness, and in life, everything or anything that excites us, we want to be associated with it.
Experts say this clever marketing taps into our desire to belong.
There's also the aspect of not wanting to be left behind. So it's a community. Everybody is doing it. How dare me not to be part?
Platforms like TikTok and Instagram have supercharged the popularity of these items, raking up millions of views and creating a sense of urgency to buy.
Maybe you are a phone brand who thinks you can just mount a few billboards and get sales. There is another phone brand that has tapped into tech influencers, making videos on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. People are sharing on their WhatsApp, maybe they are emphasizing on the quality of the camera, or maybe a longer lasting battery life, but you are there just thinking you put one artwork on a billboard and it won't work. So adaptability is very, very, very important to be able to know that what worked 50 years ago won't work now.
When influencers rave about these products or your friend shows theirs off online, it creates FOMO, the fear of missing out. And that emotional connection drives purchases.
It would just be one person's review, maybe one creator, one influencer who bought a dress, who bought a shoe, who bought a bag, and felt like I love it enough to want to talk about it, want to share. And then it becomes more like a word of mouth, a recommendation for their peers, because, looking at the Gen Z who spend a lot of time on social media, they are particularly drawn to products and trends on social.
So is any product or service truly a necessity, or is it just a very fancy way of being in vogue? For some, it's about utility. For others, it's about style, community, and yes, maybe even status. Either way, it's a fascinating glimpse into how marketing and social media shape what we buy and why. So next time you are tempted to hit add to cart, ask yourself, do you really need it? Or are you just thirsty for something more? Aisha Yakubu Khaled, TV3 News.
Well, fantastic story there by Aisha Yakubu Khalid. Well, it's time for us to go.
No, you were trying to avoid me asking whether you have a Stanley.
No, I don't.
You sure you don't own a Stanley's?
We have to go. Moina, please, stop for me on this one.
I'm just asking if you own a Stanley's.
The FOMO hasn't caught me yet.
Okay. That's our bulletin for you. I am Mawina Igbeta.
And I am Kamini Amana. Next is the afternoon show. We'll see you same time tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Sure you don't.
On Saturday, the 22nd of March, 2024.